Hello everybody, it's the Nightwing at Way of Life Esports coming at you guys with another League of Legends video here today. The big shocker happened. TSM went 0-6 in the World 2020 group stage, which was crazy, yet, I think you saw it coming based off of their very first game that they didn't win against Fnatic. Now, we did also say that if TSM lose that first game against Fnatic, they're going to spiral downward. And I think the same could have happened for Fnatic, but looking at how the Fnatic games progressed, they actually mentally kept it in there, which I was actually proud of them because they usually normally mentally collapse if they're not winning, in their own way, you know? So far TSM will be known as the organization that's like the Dallas Cowboys. A lot of fans, a lot of bark and no bite. Yeah, that's what TSM fans are. A lot of bark and no bite. Because even the Dallas Cowboys, they have that 1 or 2 Super Bowls. I'm not really too sure. Fact check me, guys, if you guys want to. TSM success doesn't even really matter. In IEM, they never really mattered in general. Even SKT won an IEM back in 2016, and then TSM got out of group stage one time, which was in the 2014 World Championship, and then they got. Then they went, 1-3 against Samsung White, right? Yeah. So, oof. So what do you want to say about TSM so far?
I mean, I'm just completely disgusted with their level of play. They didn't even, at the very least, if we had seen the TSM from NA come over, maybe they won a game. Maybe they won even 2 games. Who knows? But you know what? They came over with some sort of mindset when they realized their stuff from NA wasn't 100% destroying them off the bat. They just didn't improvise. They didn't change anything up. They came with the same strategies. Bjergsen got in his own head. Doublelift never had a brain to begin with, so it didn't really have, didn't matter for him. There was no brain inside of Doublelift's head. Biofrost continued his poor level of play. All around, I think the only person I could say I was genuinely impressed with was Broken Blade. At the international stage, I think he performed to an adequate level. Spica, however, I know he wasn't the worst member on this team, but again, his inability to play these faster paced comps at a decent level was what kept this team unable to kind of win. Again, comps teams in this level of play are kind of required to have a moderately fast paced jungler. Spica, again, he can play in Italy, just not well. When they ban Set out, he becomes kind of a lower tier jungler. Without his Set, I think that Spica is not the greatest player on the planet.
But there's something that I saw in Spica and Broken Blade that I didn't see in the other TSM members. An actual concern to win the game. The way Broken Blade and Spica were playing, they actually wanted to get leads and be proactive. I just didn't get that in Doublelift and Biofrost. I got that in Bjergsen today in their Gen G game. It's so crazy in their Gen G game. I was like, where has this TSM been? They actually got early game leads. Bjergsen got ahead. He was actually playing like most people thought he would. And I think it was just a little too late. When they even did, play against Gen G, and they were in the game. They could have won that game. And I think that if they had won that Gen G game, at least you could have went home with your head held up high that, you could have did it and you at least pulled it out, and you could at least prove some people wrong that, you're not exactly 0-6 material. But the way at which where the Lillian 5-man sleep hit, they see it and then they run away as if they didn't even want to capitalize on such a massive thing that Spica did. Those are the moments in the game where you just completely wipe the team off the map and you win. I get the group stage was really bad for them. It could have been quarantine. It could have been scrims, may have been pretty bad. But if you look at it this way, if they had won that game, you might have had salvaged something. Just winning that game would have, I think, done wonders for their mental. Even though it's not good, it's just to show them that they can do it. It's just all in their head because Bjergsen played really well in that Lucian game.
I agree.
Spica played really well. Broken Blade 1v1ing the top laner. Bjergsen 1v1 BDD. That was so crazy. They actually played proactive and they knew what to do. But
Bjergsen was winning against the best mid laner in that group, which is just again, Lucian is inherently gonna win a lane. If you know how it works.
The way he was playing, he was moving around the map, getting kills. He was moving with his team. He was actively going up and helping Broken Blade. Where was that TSM? That's the TSM people expected to be in the group.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
But why did that come out in the very last minute? I don't even understand.
People are gonna say again. I want to acknowledge this because again, Lucian wins every single lane in pretty much the mid lane. I want to acknowledge this so people understand that we know this too. But it's not the laning mechanisms, that not the mechanics behind what he did in lane. It's the progressiveness at which he tried to transform the way he kind of like moved around the map. He didn't sit in lane to dominate the lane. He pushed the
He
lane, was
went
able
into
to
the river.
rotate.
He went to the river with
Like
Spica when Clid did a bad invade. He killed Clid, and then he helped the bot lane dive and get 2 kills. I was like, where
it's
this?
just
It's too late. It's too late. Like, where's this TSM? This was a TSM everybody expected, and then that if you show me that TSM gets 2 wins.
that
That's the
TSM.
TSM I want to see.
Honestly, I don't even think that again. An LGD with the a Fnatic losing that first game could have been a completely different Fnatic than we saw this, because their mental, in my opinion, is somewhat similar to TSM's in the way that they don't know how to bounce back from a loss. Maybe they would have been in TSM's shoes, but again, they have naturally better players, so probably not. Like all around, I think that TSM has the potential to at the very least contest to make it out of this group. I think they should have been up there with some of these teams, been able to take a few games off other people, but they just didn't have the mental to be able to bounce back from the first loss. They didn't have the mental to be able to, when they start getting behind, try and swap up their playstyle. They played the same way every single time, and when they
I
got
once said
behind,
they lacked killer instinct. Like
I
even
don't.
after they lost the Baron against Gen G, they had the 5-man sleep. They could have capitalized on that and won the game. Like even BDD said, he was like, I don't really know why they didn't actually fight us. They just kind of just let
I
us all
mean,
recall.
it's
I mean,
it's
it's like
it's all comes down to the fact that they were not on the same, like a lot of the situations when something happens, a whole team has to decide we are going to engage on this, and TSM never does that. They don't have that person to pull the trigger. Even if engage gets pulled through, if you like get like you randomly don't notice, but you get like a Maokai root on somebody that you didn't expect to get hit by it, and you're kind of all close, you all have to decide to go on it, or you're not, or no one can go on it, because you'll just get yourself killed. And TSM doesn't have that person to say, hey, we need to go on this. They don't have that person to pull the trigger. They just have somebody who in my opinion, is a star player. Like, it's the same thing with Faker. I think Faker is a loud voice on Fnatic. SKT back in season 4 and 5. He was 3 and 5. He wasn't the shot caller in season 5. That was Marin. Like, it all comes down to the fact that you can have a star player who's a loud voice and yet still not have them as the shot caller, and that's something TSM has to figure out, because Fnatic, the very large discrepancy in TSM's playstyle and why it's not able to succeed is the fact that they don't switch up how they play the game. Like, they don't have somebody to decide, we need to go in on this, and they will always play the same way because that's what Bjergsen's comfortable with. It makes him look good. Like, you got anything to say about that?
so you're saying that Bjergsen and like other members of TSM are only concerned about how they look rather than the actual
I don't want
team.
to take it that way. I do think that they definitely want to win, but they don't want to go out of their comfort zone, is what Bjergsen's trying to say. So he doesn't try to make these plays that are something that would put him in a way that he would have to be the primary sort of engage and be the first one to go in. Like, if you look at the Galio engage, he would never go, like, these specific comps that they designed to make them have a more clear and concise way to get the back line, he would never go in with Leona. It would always have to be with Camille, because obviously the lockdown CC. But Leona's dead by the time that happens, so now not only is Leona dead, both of Camille and are in the back line, where so is Volibear is inside of your back line alone without any peel for both the mid laner and the ADC. I'm not the mid laner, just the ADC and who was it? It was the ADC and jungler. The ADC and jungler were by themselves in the back line trying to defend, while Broken Blade and Bjergsen didn't have the CC to be able to finish off the backline that they followed into. They never sway from they don't deviate from the path at which they set for themselves at the beginning of the game. They have a decided way they're going to play the game, and if it doesn't work out, no matter how many times, they're not going to swap up which way they play the game. He should have ulted on top of Leona in that fight in mid. He should have done that immediately. That would have been able to make Leona either survive or have a little bit of HP so she could peel off Volibear, and then Camille can still jump on the back line. There should be different ways they play the game. I'm leaving it open for you.
I don't really know. It's just the fact of the matter is like, what does this all boil down to? Like, is this coaching staff? Is this because, like, remember, like, having veteran players, you realize that a lot of the veteran players, they are very, very set in their ways. But like, I don't know if that's really true. Like, what can the coaching staff really do? Because I know.
Pause your webcam.
a lot of what happened?
Undo your webcam. Yes. Just
What
keep doing it.
happened?
Just do it again. Undo your
Okay,
webcam and do it again.
right here.
It's not on yet.
It's on right now.
Is it? It is. There we go. Talk.
Uh, hello.
You're gonna have like if I say that, just like kind of do it immediately because sometimes like after a while, I think since you're using it for a mic too, it's kind of it's freezing your camera. Okay.
Oh no no no! No. I know what's causing that right now. I'll fix it right now. Okay, is that better?
Say it. Talk.
Hello.
You're good. You're good. We could just keep
It
going
was
though.
just I was rendering a video.
Oh,
That's
okay.
why.
Okay. Don't
It's
render a
not.
video while we're doing this because it's making you lag out on the mic.
Okay, so look. Okay, so wait, what minute in the video are we at? So I can timestamp to cut that out.
It's
What minute?
about it started about at 10:20.
All right, I'm just gonna make a
Oh wait.
timestamp right here. So
Yeah.
10:20
About
to cut that.
10:20 to like
So what?
11 minutes.
To 11
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so I'm just making a timestamp. That way I can just cut that out. All right, so
okay.
back to the part where we're starting at. Okay, so it's really hard to say what's going to be the issue with TSM because it could be infrastructure. Let's start with coaching staff. So, what can the coaching staff really do? Because I know a lot of people like to blame them, but what can the coaching staff really
I
do?
actually have a few ideas on what they can do. First off, their approach to the game is very singular. Like again, as I've stated, with the way they approach the game, it usually has a very straightforward way to engage, which is fine if you have a worse team. But again, when you're facing against better competition like at Worlds, if you have this kind of simple bare bones engage and you have worse players all around, they're going to be able to outmaneuver you and be able to make it to where you can't always get the engage off you want. You can't always make that engage happen. I think what I would like to see first is the fact that TSM. I'd like to see some like a more concise shot calling in the mid game. And we see TSM. They won't contest the early dragons. The first and second dragon are never contested. I want to point that out. That is a very uncommon thing for TSM to ever contest the first two dragons. Begin. They put the priority on getting top lane pressure and trying to get something to happen, like in the top lane or the bot lane. So they give up that pressure in the bot to try and get gold in terms of turret plates and lane leads. But if you don't do either one of these things, not only are you not really ahead in farm for the jungle, you're also behind in dragon control. If you get up to two dragons, the third one is always going to be contested by you because you don't want to have to walk blindly into the fourth one while you're behind, because then you have to walk blindly into the enemy team and lose at least one person. TSM, first off, needs to start understanding this. Second of all, they put too much emphasis on kills. They will literally give up all the pressure they've had previously in the top side to go rotate around and try and get a kill on the bot side because, again, this person's fed, but if you get this kill on the bot side, you lose 2 to 3 towers. You need to
Even their
understand.
bot side dives were messed up too. Like
I
if people go back and look at that bot lane dive they did against Gen G, they didn't even kill two people. They just killed one person, blew a Shen ultimate, blew everything just for one kill.
Yeah, it
That's
was a
that's
five
pretty.
man bot. It was a 5-man bot, was it not? By the end of it, I think
Yeah,
it got down
but
to a 5-man.
you
It's
get
like
but you get two kills for that. I don't think it's worth putting 5 men down there for one kill.
it
That's
was
just
one
not worth
kill.
it.
They should have got 3 kills. First of all, it was mismanagement of tower. I mean, tower like aggro. A lot of
Aggro.
these things. It's just there is so much lack of communication. There's such a lack of decisive shot calling that honestly, you can't. The coaching staff can't do all of it. They need to find somebody who knows the game already. If the coaching staff can't figure out the game, they need to get somebody in the game who can somewhat shot call to be able to get this game to go like the way it's supposed to be. Because again, they're always behind a pace. They're always losing tempo and all of these things. And TSM is never going to be able to bounce back if they're not able to fix that. Like all around, I want to see a TSM. I want to see TSM. They have potential in both Bjergsen, top lane, and in a different meta. I would even say double lift. I think this is like the only. This is the only season, even internationally, double lift did well last year. So I want to say this is the only season where I think that double lift has played really poorly. I want to give him some slack. If we go back to non-supportive, or utility ADCs, maybe he bounces back. I will give him 1 year of slack because I gave Huni that, and I've still given Huni a little bit too much slack. But
Oh my god.
he played so well in the playoffs, so it's like it makes me want to give him back some more slack.
That
Like,
makes me want to go like, man, why wasn't Cloud9 at the World Championship?
yeah,
I really do feel like they would have gotten so much better with the Chinese solo queue.
I
But
think
another
the
discussion for another day, I guess.
I agree. No, one thing I do want to touch on that is the fact that the one thing that kind of differentiated the teams in each one of these worlds is their ability to change the way they played from NA. Because NA had a terrible grasp of the meta. They had good read on champions, but a terrible read on how to play the game. And when it came down to that, Team Liquid adapted. They swapped their playstyle from how they played in NA to the way that you're supposed to play in Worlds by the second week. By the second week and the end of the first week, they
But I
changed the
want
way
to
they
bring up,
played.
they only did that when their backs were against the wall. If
No,
their
no,
backs
no.
weren't against the wall, they were going to play the
No.
same.
I'm saying they realized they needed to swap. Again, TSM's back was against the wall too, and they didn't change it. They changed the way they played, and teams usually
No,
can't do that.
Team Liquid realized their back was against the wall, and you might as well play this style right now, or you're just going to be out.
I don't
They at least
understand. You
had
think
the,
that's not
they at least
adaptability?
well, no, they at least had the initiative to do it. TSM only did it literally one time, and then once they messed up, it completely reverted back the game afterwards. That's the thing,
You
though.
keep like I always want to argue with you because I feel like you're arguing with me, but then you agree with me in that statement. You're like, no, really, but and then you agree with me with the next
I'm just
statement.
okay. So what I'm saying is, like, Team Liquid acknowledge if they don't go balls to the wall, they're gonna not have a chance to get out. TSM never had that instinct where, like, okay, if I don't play my heart out and play out of my mind, we are going to lose. They did the exact same thing. That's the crazy part.
I'm confused. Like you really are phrasing this as as a contradiction, but I feel like you're agreeing with me. Are you agreeing with me, or like am I crazy?
No. I'm just saying in the manner at which where like they
I
mentally bounced back for Team Liquid. It was they were at a point where you play like this or you're completely out.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what Team Liquid thought, and it almost worked out. TSM, they never had it. They never had a point where they were like, ugh,
It's because again,
I gotta play like this.
I want to
They
give
never
credit.
had that.
I want to give credit to Jet. Jet straight up switched the way they played. Like again for the most part they approached the game differently by the second week. Like in the first game in G2, I saw remnants of what they were not supposed to be doing. They played really slow paced. They waited for the enemy team to get onto them, and then they made a lot of mistakes. And the only reason that they were able to like actually pull it back the next two games is because they kind of swapped up the pick style they had and all this stuff. Like all around, I mean. I think that Brox's inability to play anything consistently well besides Graves was a big problem. Again, Graves is able to scale in the late game, and that's really what Brox needed. But Brox's inflexibility was a big problem for this team, and it was a reason that I feel like they couldn't go any farther because they just didn't have that secondary source of early game pressure. Like they have Jensen's ability to be able to do stuff, and they have pretty solid laners in bot and mid. But all around, I think that without a solid jungler, there's no way this team could have got out of groups. I don't think they would have won against Suning in a second round robin, in the second tiebreaker. I think they would have lost it, but there's a possibility they could have won, which is all on G2's fault. I can't believe them. They suck.
Well, at least for Team Liquid, they had that player. Like you had Broxa, you had Core JJ, you had Jensen.
Broxa.
Well, or I would say Core JJ. Like you had a player like Core JJ on Team Liquid or Jensen that were like, okay, if we don't play like this, we're gonna lose. I don't think there was no player like that on TSM where it's like you have that person that says, hey, we gotta play like this or we're done.
Actually, you know what? I want to give
maybe
credit.
You had it in
Broken Blade made a lot of like kind of really aggressive play, but he never actually approached the game differently. He just more aggressively laned, and like that's not really. Again, like I want to give credit to Core JJ. Core JJ might have been one of the best players at Worlds so far. Core JJ was absolutely incredible. He took over the game completely. Like it became my favorite part of Worlds was when it was just like it was G2 versus Team Liquid, and it was just a dual matchup of supports. And it was like who is the better support, and like it was absolutely fun to watch.
Mickey X isn't playing really
Mickey
well.
X and Core JJ were like at one point in time those were the two best players in the entire group, and they were incredible both in and of themselves. I don't want to take away from Core JJ; he's an incredible support, but Core JJ is like. He was phenomenal. He brought back like in his Pantheon game against Suning, he brought back pretty much them from the deficit. Like Team Liquid should not have been back into this series. They should not have been back. Able to get back into this game. Into the
running to
the
running out of the group.
But they pulled it back because Core JJ did
that's
not allow them
a player.
to lose.
That's because like people gotta understand they had a player on the team that was like, okay, I am not going out without a fight. I really don't think TSM had a player like that. I mean, maybe they had their little motivational speeches, but it's one thing to say it, but then actually do it in the game. Core JJ in the games against Suning and the games against Machi, he literally ran in as set, literally just to start something, just so that their team and their own team's mid and top laner would be able to be in an advantageous position. I didn't see them in TSM. I didn't see no player trying to put each other in an advantageous position. All I saw was that each player was trying to look good for themselves, probably to save their job, because I'm going to be honest with a lot of you guys who are going to watch this video. Like, if they don't make... It's the same thing I predicted with Cloud9 to make a big change. So this is just easily how I predicted. If you think they're not going to make a change, you are out of your mind.
Who?
They're going to make changes, TSM. TSM will make
I
changes.
think there's three teams. Again, I still think Spica is a good NA jungler. He's never going to get them to that elite level that they're trying to get to, at the very
But
least,
he
contention.
was in positions that were ahead. His team was just really never
He's
there,
just,
honestly.
yeah, but he's just never, he was never good enough. He played
But
well.
we don't know his
I
maximum potential because of
I
his
do know his
team not
maximum
really being
potential.
able to play through him.
Okay,
Like
I'll
imagine if
point
you had
out, with the leads that he had, I feel like a few junglers could have, SOFM would have taken over the game. He has a, like, I'm just saying, like, if you compare him to elite junglers, you can see why I have a problem with him specifically. Even Yanko's on his bad days, specifically at this Worlds, who I think was playing maybe slightly worse in some situations, even with the like poor mechanics, was in better situations, was helping out his team more. Spica, again, looked for good engages in team fights, but his early game presence was negligible. It was every single game, and that's what I hated about him. Like, Spica is a good player. He is a good NA jungler. And honestly, I feel like if you want to compete on the international stage at this point in time, you either pick up somebody like Dardak, who's going to be like good 50% of the time or 40% of the time, and
and then his
hope that he
brain,
always plays well, or you
or
go,
you
yeah,
hope his brain doesn't collapse by like 25
yeah,
minutes.
or you pick up an import. There's the only two options I see. You could try and train, what's it called? But leave that to the lower tier teams. And if they pick up players and they're like, wow, I developed this talent, you steal them from them because you're TSM and they will want to come, and that's just a fact. That's just how it works with them. If you are the big dog on the campus, you can steal any player you want to if you really put your effort into it. I want to see a world where, like, again, as much as I want to be the person that says we should develop NA talent, I've seen a lot of it put into the NA scene. There's been a lot of rookie junglers that have came in, and none of them have impressed me really. Besides maybe what's his name from Golden Guardians has been really good, but even he's an import.
Well, you know what's a weird contradiction is that you know how like on Twitter a lot of players will be like, "Hey, my team has allowed me to look at other teams and explore my options," and like they'll say like retweets are appreciated. Isn't it kind of contradictory that people say we need NA talent, yet are literally telling players that have been around for so long without success in the LCS to get a new team? That sounds pretty contradictory. They're like, well, I'll just use Golden Glue for example. Like Golden Glue could be like, hey, EG has now allowed me to explore options. That's cool. And then people are like, yeah, man, hopefully you get another team. Golden Glue's been around literally since like Dignitas from season 4. Or Pobelter will be like, hey, looking for a new team, allowed to explore options if needed. Still talking with CLG. They'll be like, yeah, man, it's cool. Find a new team. But that's the problem right there. That's the issue. What a lot of people don't actually understand is that you want new NA talent, yet you're telling these old pros, not specifically Pobelter because he's had success, he's different. Like the players with success are fine because their proven track record will keep them afloat. Like you're telling all these players that have never seen success in their careers, even here, let alone the international stage. Yeah, you get another shot, another team.
I want to point out
you'll never get talent like that.
I'm just saying, you're going onto their Twitter comments, and again, the reality is that you're going to have people that are going to defend each and every player you're going to find. You cannot give voice. If you give voices to every opinion, you just validate a very
that's contradictory to have like you want something new.
You're saying,
but you keep trying to keep the old players.
I'm going to point out, you're saying like the people that are saying that could possibly not be the same people that are saying we need to try new NA talent. They could be completely different people. You can't put Twitter as a whole as a one entity because it is a mixture of a lot of people.
Reddit does it. A lot of other
is a completely same situation. There are a lot of different people combined into one situation. People that are also saying Pobelter is good could also not be saying that NA should use new talent. There's probably a situation where they agree with.
What I'm saying is like the fundamentals of how you perceive something. Like this is like what I'm trying to say is you can't want something new with trying to bring back the old.
I'm saying you're expecting them to say like it's not the same people saying this stuff. It's two different people.
I'm not saying them. I'm saying the concept overall. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand the concept, but again, I think you're using Twitter as in Twitter said this, but Twitter also said this, and not.
No, I'm just saying like people are backing older players with no success, but then want new North American players. Like
those aren't the same people. You're misunderstanding that. Those are two different people. Those are two different people. It's some people are gonna defend the older players because they like their personalities, like their play.
Those that's what I'm talking about.
Those people, like, you should argue with them. You shouldn't argue with both people because both people are two different people. Is what I'm saying. It's the people that are defending pros and people that are wanting new talent, and those are the two people. Those are the very two large voices. But the people who like Fowelter like his personality. He's a moderately popular streamer, and he's a big NA like voice. Like that's all it is. He's an intelligent man, but I agree with it. His play is not great. He has a really good start to the season every season, and then he falls off.
Saying is that we can never get new players if people just keep wanting old players. Now, I don't really care which side it goes through, but that is just contradictory in its own way. You want something new, but you keep trying to bring back the old
fight
players.
you.
Guys,
Fight you. They're not contradicting if they're not saying it.
I hate this guy. But overall, I just in my mind I know TSM's gonna make changes. Now, what changes? I don't really know. Did they go 0-6? They literally embarrassed themselves on the international stage. They're the first Pool 1 seed to go 0-6. Someone said, but didn't Clutch Gaming go 0-6? Yes, but like that's completely different.
First of all, Clutch Gaming was a tier 3. Second of all, they were in a harder group, let's be honest.
Really hard group.
They were
was
in
terrifying.
A very hard group. This TSM was in every single one of these players was worse than the first seed of that group. It was worse, probably a lot of them were worse than the second. This Fnatic is probably worse than.
And that's the thing is that Clutch Gaming roster fought to the very end. Even in their last game against Fnatic, where they were knocked out if they lost that game, they fought every single turn just to win. They never had a point where they knew they were probably not getting out, but at least they tried. And I can say more. That means more to me than what TSM did. TSM didn't even try.
All that matters is the fact that NA had a 40% win rate against EU, and so we can brag about that. We almost went even.
They had 40. Oh yeah, because Team Liquid beat Mad Lions in G2, yeah. And then TSM went 0-2 against. Oh lord, TSM went 0-2 against Fnatic. That's crazy.
We almost did okay.
Hey, the score between EU and NA, yeah, G2 win. The one G2 win against Team Liquid, and you have Fnatic's 3 wins. Yeah, so it's 3-2. It's okay. It's okay.
It's 2 wins against Fnatic. 2 wins for Fnatic, 1 win for G2, 1 win for Team Liquid. 2 wins for Team Liquid. That's 2-3.
Again, it's not too bad.
Again, we're obviously worse than them, and I think that the score is a little less. Like, I think that even Rogue was probably better than TSM. You know, I won't say that. I won't say that because Rogue was also atrocious.
Rogue was in a hard group, but Rogue is different. Rogue underperformed by like the small expectations we're given. Like Rogue were supposed to be like the third team to play spoiler to JDG and Damwon. They didn't even do that. They played even worse than that. Like if you are worse than playing spoiler, I'm got no hope for you.
The only thing Rogue spoiled was people's pick'ems when they went last place in the group. No one expected PSG to do good.
The thing with PSG is that, you know, the teams they did exactly how I predicted. You got to try level 1 cheesy stuff. That's the only reason. That's one way you're gonna win.
It's just they replaced the 2 most important pieces of their team from the play-ins and still managed to do better against a lot of the teams than. I mean, Rogue just looked worse than PSG. PSG was a better team by the second week.
But at least Rogue, like they were competitive in some of their games. They were competitive in some of them, like the JDG game. They were competitive in some of their games. And even Rogue has that. They were at least competitive. Like nothing about TSM was competitive in their group. Like horrible macro decisions. Biofrost was just. They were literally probably playing 4v5. Biofrost shouldn't even count as a player on the team.
Like
how bad he was playing.
I'm disappointed.
Also, that makes sense too. Like, why didn't they just play Treats then? Just give him international international play then. You're already out of the group.
You might as well just understand. The reason is because he got in a fight with Doublelift. I'm not going to make any stress. Doublelift blamed him for the play at the first stage of the playoffs, and they took Doublelift's side, so they can't play him if they want to keep Doublelift's like good graces at this point.
That's so child. I know.
I agree. It's just what it is. It's just a fact. I mean, I think Treat and Lost should be on a different team. I'd like to see Lost one more chance. It's like I saw glimpses of goodness out of him, but he played so poor the rest of the times. It's hard for me to say whether or not that was just luck or not. Like, all around, I think with Oceania, that is one thing I'm excited for. NA might actually be NA might be moderately competitive next year because we're getting an influx of a lot of solid players. Oceania had probably a solid amount of teams.
Behind the scenes, I'm going to be having some people come in from some orgs that are going to be giving me some interviews.
Oh wait, you got your friend, remember?
Triple? No, not him.
Not him. I'm talking about what's his name?
I gotta talk to him. I gotta talk to him too. Actually, recently he hit me up too. He said, "Hey, you want to talk about OPL in your next show?" I'm like, yeah, sure. Just
he's got a lot of insight on that, so it's definitely a good idea.
Oh, I have other OC players that I'm talking to right now to see if they're going to be on for like a podcast episode or they're going to be on for just an interview. Also, I have someone from an NA LCS org from Worlds who is right now currently in China. We're going to talk after Worlds is over, depending on their results pending this week. I'm gonna let you guys think about who the org
As
is.
long as it's
He already knows the org, but I'm letting you guys think.
yeah.
He's literally shoulder to shoulder with them. That's how close this guy is. So it's gonna be really interesting to see like his perspective on their org success over the year and seeing as how like they performed at their group was also hard. So you know,
you kind of gave it away there.
Tim, Jad said not to say anything, but
okay, shut
my
up.
God.
Okay, okay. Well, you're hyping yourself a little too much now.
Yeah, Brock said declined me. He said I don't do interviews.
Did he actually?
Yeah. He said I don't have time for interviews. Meanwhile, he just did an interview with Travis. I'm like, okay, whatever.
He's not going to give you an interview to everybody. Come on. Like, don't be upset about that. You're not a big time streamer. Why would he ask you?
I mean, but he's a nice guy.
He's an extremely nice guy. Don't badmouth Brox in my presence like that again.
Oh my God! If Broxa literally put his hands on you, probably gonna like start like getting harder.
It's like I badmouth Broxus so much, but I'd rather see him succeed than anybody else in NA because he's just such a genuinely nice guy.
Like, I don't even know what TSM are gonna do at this point. Like, going 0-6, I know they're gonna make changes. What changes? It's hard to say. Like, will they kick double lift? Probably not, because they are focused on winning the LCS. Because someone said, well, what if they blow up the roster and they don't win LCS and they're right back to what they did in 2018? I mean, that's the risk you take.
You have to do something. If you want to compete, your goal should not be to win NA. And I agree with that 100%. You can't make it to Worlds if you don't win NA, but at the same time, don't get something to scrape by winning NA to be able to fail at Worlds. Like
I don't understand it. Well, someone was like, well, in 2018, they got Zen and Mithy and that failed. I mean, it made sense with the context of that period of time. They just failed at Worlds again. And like, this is the same thing too. Like, the same situation. Now, will it pan out the same? Probably not, but it'll have similarities to it. Like, they just felt that Worlds really, really massively. And you also have them in a precarious position. Bjergsen, I don't think he's going to retire at this moment. Doublelift, it's a possibility he could. I'm just saying for a little bit.
You know what should happen? One of the superstar mid laners or superstar top laners should go to Golden Guardians. And they would be, if Broken Blade was on Golden Guardians, this would be it. Broken Blade steals Hanser's role job again. That'd be great. Like, they would be one of the best teams in NA. Do you not agree with that?
For which one?
Golden Guardians, because now they have FBI as non-import.
You know what I was thinking about? What if Broken Blade replaced Impact on Team Liquid?
They can't do that.
And they kick Broxa for someone else.
Oh, okay.
If you put Broken Blade on Team Liquid, that'd be scary. Broxa actually, imagine Broken Blade, Jensen, and Core JJ.
I just think there's no good non-import junglers that you can really make.
You could always take back Dardoch.
I mean, it's true. It's a very
don't do that. Oh my God,
Dardoch would be so much better than Broxa. I'm sorry, I don't agree with that.
I know, but like that would be so bad in terms of Dardoch's personality. He's such crap.
We don't know what goes behind the scenes. A lot of people like to just say since he was mean before, he's mean now. We got no ideas. I'm just gonna assume it's probably the case, but I won't say for a fact.
Hypothetically, what if they did get Broken Blade and they kicked Broxa, because Broxa's contract was only for a year anyway, so it's likely he just goes back to Europe because he was away from his family anyway, and he said that like mentally affected him. I think he was gonna go back, but they'll leave a spot open for
If they get a good jungler, I think Team Liquid has a solid chance of getting out of groups. The jungle and the lack of actual versatility from the top lane was the big problem with Team Liquid. So if they addressed those two problems, they could have. I mean, they would have been better than G2 this year. Like, honestly, the only difference between them at Worlds this season was the fact that they had so little tempo out of the jungle that they weren't able to keep up with G2.
That's what they could do. What if they kicked Broxa, got closer, and then they got a North American top laner, like an up-and-coming rookie?
Impact is literally not an import. You don't have to replace him.
I personally would,
Yeah, but
but
I'm just
that's just
saying at that point in time, you address the main problem. I think that
I would
Impact is
think if you want to
still.
kick Broxa and then take closer,
I'm just
that'd be a
saying
great team
you
actually.
can't really get closer unless they give them to you. But I mean, Golden Guardians looks like they're going to be trying to compete next year, so I doubt they're going to get him. It doesn't seem realistic. Like Golden Guardians with FBI becoming a non-import seems like they're going to be looking to compete next year. So all around, I would say, who would I say? I'm pretty. I'm excited for what's it called? I'm excited for Golden Guardians. I'm excited for Team Liquid. There's a lot of slight roster movements that could make these teams at the very least contending to get out of groups. We'll have to see whether or not they're able to make those moves, though. I think Jat was an incredible addition to Team Liquid. He seems to be the decisive change and the reason as to why Team Liquid was able to make it out of group, almost make it out of groups. Um, and honestly, maybe Broxa is the main reason that they were able to keep the mentality equalized because he's a leadership. He's a leader, like in most situations that he's in. What if he's the big reason as to why they never tilted and were able to bounce back from that week?
I
Because
could see it,
I mean, he
but
was
like,
in that 03 Fnatic group too. Like he was in that
yeah, you're
team
right.
too. He was on that team too. And honestly, I feel like we can give credit to Reckless, but I don't think he's more of a leader than Broxa is. Like
I don't know. They had a lot of veterans on that team at that point in time, but I don't know. Like the issue here with Team Liquid is like they need another push. They need a push to the point where like you're gonna have to have your players basically over the edge enough to get them out of the group stage. Oh, keep talking. This loud ass train.
yeah, I think that's. I mean, we've addressed the problems of. It's a train. It's a train. What do you think he's gonna? Is somebody coming to rob you? If somebody's coming to rob you, I think you should probably keep the video going so we can call the police on them, dude. You always like every time a train goes past his house, he looks behind him like somebody's coming in his door. I hate it. I mean, all around, I think the big problem I have with TSM, like I want to go back to them, is the fact that they just don't have the mentality or the leadership skills of a winner. Like there's nothing that you can really make a case for. They never bounce back from losses, and that's the reality. It's the sad reality of the state of the NA is in, is when TSM, who genuinely should never have bounced back, was allowed to get back into the game because there was a massive amount of mistakes letting them back into the game from Golden Guardians' side. Golden Guardians let TSM back into the series, and it's disappointing, but that's just what it is. Um, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, you got anything else you want to say?
I mean, Double Lift did say that the LCS format for the 2020 summer split saved his career. Like, was he alluding that he was gonna retire if the in the older format if they just got knocked out by Golden Guardians? Because remember, in the older format, Golden Guardians that would have been quarterfinals, TSM versus Golden Guardians. They would just knock them out completely. They wouldn't even have had a shot at going to Worlds.
I agree. I mean, I think TSM made a lot of good pushes to try and make like they made a case as to which this summer format actually does make a difference. I think if it was I still want to make a push for this. I know Riot's not going to listen to this, but I think it should be a one format session. It should be a singular season, a long season throughout the entire season. No, there's no if Spring Split has such a little impact at the beginning of the year, it should not exist anyways. Like if you're going to put 8 teams into the playoffs, and since we have more players coming in from the OPL, I think we could push it up to 12 teams. Like with the
Or
influx of
how about,
players.
I would say just swap it. Like do 8 playoff teams for spring, do 6 for summer. Why is it the other way around? I don't understand that. Just do 8 for spring, then if you want to do that, and then do just 6 for summer.
Cover your gross nipple, man.
Oh my god.
I don't think there should be a spring. I don't agree with that. There's no reason to have a spring. It doesn't have any impact. If you want to send somebody to MSI, they should have when MSI is coming around, they should have a 4-man tournament where the top 4 teams in NA at the current time face each other in a best of 2 to 3 tournament to see who goes to this. And that makes, first of all, it gives us more games to play with, and second of all, it's just a lot more competition. And second of all, it gives like meaning to the spring split. Like there's almost no like importance to winning at the beginning of the year. Like it has no inference to the end of the year. I think the beginning of the year should mean something. If we want this to mean something, we make a singular season, best of top 4 to 6 teams play in a best of 4 best of 2 to 3 tournament, and then from there on out, you make these teams. The winner of that goes to MSI and gets to represent their teams. Like there's no reason not to make it like that. There's no reason we need to have NA in a situation where they have to.
This is what TSM said on Twitter. With that loss, it ends our hashtag Worlds 2020 hopes. Although we fell short at the group stage, the team have done us proud this year. After a turbulent year and roster changes in the summer, we put together an incredible LCS summer split win, and we look ahead to 2021. Thank you. See, the last part, all they care about is just winning North America. It's all they care about.
That's all they can take credit for. I mean, they could go on there and badmouth their team, but they're not going to do that. The only team that I could see doing that is G2. G2 could badmouth their team and they wouldn't care. Like, I don't see TSM doing that. But I think the big thing I see from this team, I see some potential. I just like to see different pieces put together. And I will always make a push. Again, I know I'm stressing this a lot, but I really do think the format of the entire season needs to change in NA. I think it needs to change in all the regions. But that's pretty much it.
Doublelift had a pretty interesting tweet after he went 0-6.
I heard about it. He broke the 3-3 curse.
But in the wrong direction. God damn. That's like, you could take that as, him now being, he's going to be depressed for a little bit, but god damn, that's actually sad. I feel so bad for him because that's actually
I don't feel
sad.
bad for him. He really played poorly.
No, I know, but like I know how that sounds because I've seen that type of tweet like from a lot of players after Worlds when they lose, and it's like he's basically just flaming the team, saying we actually all suck.
He's flaming himself, is what he is. He's taking the heat.
True.
He's flaming himself, and he's trying to be funny about it. And honestly, I'm not going to get upset about him. You need to make some kind of goofy jokes to make yourself feel better about it.
Pearson didn't say anything. All he said was embarrassing. Is he talking about himself? Because if he's talking about himself, then yeah, obviously. A lot of people had hopes for Bjergsen that this was going to be his best world championship so far to date, but I mean, like, I don't really understand. I just don't know what is going to justify, what they're going to say. Like, what are they going to say? Like, looking forward, what are they going to say? It's the same conversation every single year that they do go to Worlds, because they haven't been since, they didn't go in 2018 and 2019. But it's the same thing. It's literally, we'll do better, we'll try better, we'll do better, blah, blah, blah. We'll fix our issues. Like,
I think we should.
I'm done believing them. I was already done in the past, but like, people should subvert their expectations and they just let it all play out for themselves. Like, that's just what I'm saying. I don't want to hear this. Like, I just don't want to hear this. Oh yeah, we'll do better, we'll try harder. That's okay. I heard that thousands of times. You need to actually prove it.
All right. I do want to make a push. If we are going to watch the games today, we do actually want to kind of cut this short soon. So, do you have anything else you want to say before we end it right here?
For what?
Yeah, are we planning on watching the games tonight?
Yeah.
Do you want to get food first?
Sure.
Just make sure we cut it short a little. You just kind of like, you can keep saying stuff. Just make sure we wrap it up in the next.
Yeah. There's one person that commented on his thing 8 hours ago. He said, "You tried. Unfortunately, you can't carry that team to an NA title, but I didn't expect you to carry that 1v9 internationally. It isn't, and was never possible. There's a lot of OC players that can be brought in without using import slots. Also, drop double lift and put treats in. Don't Biofrost." That's just the one comment that I saw. There's gonna be a lot of comments. Holy shit! But obviously, for Bjergsen, I don't really know what to say. I think that this will be another discussion for another time. But I just want to have an overall discussion on TSM and their issues at Worlds 2020. I think that TSM will make changes. If you think otherwise, you don't know TSM, obviously. That's pretty much it. See you guys later. Like, comment, subscribe. Most of all, enjoy. I'm the Nightwing, and this is Buff Studman, whatever name he's going to go by. Big 9-inch dude. I don't know. His name changes every day. Oh, my God. See you guys later. Peace. Goodbye.
Hi there, guys! Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more stuff.
Yeah, thank you.